what we have now is a session on zero friction customer experience. So we're looking for the grumpy customers, or indeed the people who would like not to have grumpy customers. To introduce myself, my name's Piers Gibbon. I am a TV presenter, radio host, that kind of thing. I also moderate a lot of conferences in huge numbers of fields. So e-commerce, fintech, pharma, energy, fast-moving consumer goods, logistics, charities, NGOs, you name it, I've hosted it. And all of them have that same need for, as much as possible, zero friction in the marketplace. And we have an amazing panel here today. We have, from DreamCloud, Mark Patchett. Now, it turns out, DreamCloud is the fastest growing top 1,000 e-commerce company in the USA. And that's just happened. So I'm going to ask you to give him a round of applause in order to give him the adrenaline rush he needs to take a deep breath.
Yeah!
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And he's now going to take that deep breath, and before he runs out of oxygen and dies on stage, he's going to tell you where he comes from, what he's passionate about, and just how he can save you time and money next time you rock up to work. Over to you. Deep breath.
There we go. So from Sydney, Australia, originally, and then shifted over to the United Kingdom to try and work on some bigger and better things, nothing personal to the good old Aussies. And then started working in fast growth e-commerce companies from about 5 years ago with that. And the focus there is on how to spend money. And it initially started to be how to spend lots of money really quickly, but then we ran out of money really quickly. So then we had to start working on how to spend a little bit less money, but much, much smarter from that point on, which was really good.
Okay, so that's your practical insight for today?
Spend lots of money. Yeah, extend the credit line and hope for the best. Yeah.
Extend the credit line, hope for the best. Take notes, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to work. Yeah. Thank you. And next we have Sarah Metcalf from Sure Pet Care. Huge round of applause to give her the strength to carry on.
Thank you.
And a personal note, my cat is a big fan of Sure Pet Care. Little Freddles comes through a Sure Flap every day.
Amazing.
So, Sarah, how are you going to make life wonderful for the people in the audience today?
Thank you. I'm really glad to hear that. Do you know you can have an app to meow every time he does that?
I don't have the app, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's disappointing.
I am a Luddite.
It meows. So I started working at Sure Pet Care when we were 4 people, and we now have over 1 million customers globally, and have had a Net Promoter Score of between 90 and 97 in 35 countries around the world for over 9 years. So the reason I'm here is to talk about how creating a great place to work and a happy workplace is the way that you will find those frictions and be able to remove them quickly, and it will make your journey and your growth so much easier if you kind of flatten your hierarchy structure and allow your frontline staff to help you transform your business.
So, happy people, and for all of those people who put their hands up saying they would like a happy workforce, we have the answers up here. And next, from Hyperion Tech, Stav.
Yes, hi.
Hi. That's the first time we've met. It's very exciting for me, too.
Me and Piers, we go back many years.
Many years.
Many years. Like at least 45 years or something.
Exactly. So, huge round of applause to give him the strength to carry on. He's been on stage for hours already. So, Stav, the first thing is you've got to tell everyone how to pronounce your surname, so I get it right.
Zilberstein.
Zilberstein.
Yeah.
Thank you. And how are you going to make these people's lives easier and more wonderful, both in the next 40 minutes and forever?
Well, I would say that you just have to focus on expertise and understanding the products you're handling with. So instead of trying to delegate it to consultants, you have to establish your quality workforce within your team. There are many ways to do that. People that get really acquainted with the platforms they're handling to the deep level, this is what's going to make the difference. So being happy is great. We also support that. Flat hierarchies, love it. We do it.
Nice.
But still, we will need to develop some kind of expertise within the workforce to be passionate about the product enough to understand what exactly are the pain points of the clients passing through these products.
Thank you very much indeed. And finally, Melissa Dunn from Sainsbury's Argos, Head of Digital Product Development, and a very feisty talker. She's already told me I'm wrong, and also the rest of the panel, which is what we need. Nobody has all of the answers in this subject, and you know as much as we do up here, and we'll be throwing microphones at you later on. So, huge round of applause for Melissa Dunn to give her the strength to carry on. So, Melissa, how are you going to make these people's lives easier in the next 30 to 40 minutes?
Probably not at all.
Not at all?
So when you really want to talk about something that's frictionless, you need to decide what that actually means for your business and your customers. We had an earlier discussion, don't really care about the colleagues. I don't own colleague-facing software. I only care about customers because I own customer-facing software. So all of you who care about your workforce, you're on your own. Or actually, you're with Sarah.
I'll take it.
As far as the rest of it is, you don't actually want a friction-free experience for your customers. You do want them to stop and look at things on your site in your experience. They want them to read things if you're a service provider, and that's friction. So you have to decide where you want friction and where you don't want friction. So when I was asked what are my 5 things, one of the things I said is friction is useful. You can't start a fire without friction. And so you need to really think about what it is you want to do and what it is your customer journey is really all about. You need to understand the why. Why are customers behaving the way they are? Why do you want customers to behave in a certain way? Worry about the what and the how later. Figure out the why first.
Figure out the why first and don't care about your employees. Love it. Positive message there from the very top. Now, we were discussing earlier, it's about the think-feel balance, the trust-convenience balance, the friction-intention balance, already mentioned there. There was also 20-second rule and 1.2-second rule, cookies, GDPR. But from my left, we're going to go around. What is your burning issue in this friction reduction arena, and how have you succeeded?
I guess from the customer's perspective, it's about at what point in time do they need to get out quickly. Humans are inherently impatient, and so we have to be very patient in figuring out where those places of impatience are. That's our job. And I would say, quite honestly, you can get away with a lot in the top of the funnel, but you can't get away with a lot in the bottom of the funnel. So if you're going to go and try to build something that's frictionless for them, you're going to start at the bottom of the funnel. Make sure that when they want to walk out the door, it's really easy for them to give you their money and walk out the door. And oh, by the way, on the way out, make sure you tell them how much you love them and you'd like to see them again. Not, hey, thanks for your money, and go on. We don't really care if you ever come back. So for me, it's about choosing where you want to find frictionless and then figuring out what else you want to say. And I just want to say one more thing on tech. One of the things that you probably already know, you've seen it for yourself, is customers will start their journey with you anywhere, on any kind of channel. And then they'll move to another channel because, well, why not? And then they'll move to a third channel, from their big screen TV to their mobile device to a PC. It doesn't really matter. The journey's all the way through there. Every time you don't remember what they did on another channel, that's the friction they don't like, right? And they won't come back because you didn't remember them. Again, the value prop is you should remember me, right? It's about me, right? It's not about you. It's about me. Value prop must be in my favor. So one of the things that we're actually looking at right now is something called PWA. Right? So this is basically how to make your browser work better. It allows customer experiences to go offline. I don't know about any of you guys. Does anyone ride a train here? Anyone ride the train? Have you ever noticed it suddenly is gone, everything? You're on the edge. There's no Wi-Fi anymore from Virgin. There's like nothing. Imagine they're in the middle of doing something with your app, or worse yet, your browser, and it's gone. So instead, we're looking at PWA, this web technology that will actually let your mobile browser work offline. And that, from the customer's experience, feels like you're still there, you still love them, they're still working with you. One of the holy grails around what we do is having the 10-minute app. I have 10 minutes while I'm waiting for my bus. I have 10 minutes while I'm on the train. What should I go do? You want it to be you. And I don't think it needs to be an app, but you do need to be smart.
Okay, and your burning issue and how you solved it.
Well, I would say that it's more, I don't know if it's so much about people's feeling of, oh, please take care of me or see me, as much as we just don't like inconveniences in life, you know? I would say, like, it's true, friction can be when I'm browsing products or I'm looking for something specific that I wanted to get, which is totally fine if it takes a little bit longer. But then when I need to make the action, like pay, or I just want it to be hassle-free. Nobody can, you know, it's like this thing. Were you ever in the airport and you were just about to board your flight and you try to close your computer? It usually happens in a PC. And then Windows is installing updates. Please don't turn off this computer. Did this ever happen to you? And you go with your laptop like, oh, I'm sorry, you know, I'm just going to put it under the chair because my computer is going to die. It's these things that behave not as we expect them to. It's like these faults in UI that creates frustration and pain. Not so much about the personal, oh, please, you didn't see me, as much as it is, this is just annoying, you know? I just wanted the service to be flowing. And I think just a small tip, there are many tools that allow to anonymously record screens. If you put a product manager next to these screens and see how people behave, just by 15 minutes a day, you're going to understand amazing things about how wrong some areas of your platforms are built.
Hands up, we're already doing it. Yep. There's 3 of them out there just wondering why they're here today. They're already doing it. Tell them something new. Actually, but there's only 3 or 4 people who are saying that, so thank you for that. And anything else? No?
That's it.
That's it. So easy. Sorted. Next.
So mine is about the people. I think when you were telling that story earlier, Piers, you said that you knew the lady on the phone didn't like that she had to do that for you. So she knew that that was a pain point already. So if you had, that bank had actually spoken to their customers and told them, hey, this is our process, the people who speak to your customers would have been able to say, this is going to piss people off.
Yep.
They're going to hate this. We already have their data, can't we do that? And for me, that's the frictionless piece again, is that we have all their data, we're asking for it all the time. We need to be using the technology out there. Like you said, 3 people out of those people in what is, I would say, quite a tech-heavy environment. We're still not using those pieces that we need to be able to do it.
And how can you measure that? So the person, so my angry, my very friendly woman on the end of my bank telephone, how can she be sure that when she takes the time to put me on hold or tell me I'm going to call you back, how can she be sure that you're going to reward that and not tell her that you disapprove of what she's doing? Because what she is in effect doing is telling you, the bosses, you've failed and your system's rubbish.
And that's what we should be doing as leaders. We don't know, we all think that we as leaders are the people who know the best, and that's just not true. We don't use the systems. We don't speak to the customers. We don't know the friction points or the pain points anymore. And we may very well have a great idea, but actually, if you take that data that you've got, if you don't care about your people, that's fine. You give us the data, you take it to the front line and say, does that make sense? Because a lot of the time, numbers are just numbers, depending on, like we said earlier, the questions you're asking. Whereas your people can say, actually, that's not how real people behave. That's how numbers think they behave. So it's a real marriage. And you have to give them autonomy, give them training, and it's very key, freedom within guidelines. Right?
Freedom within guidelines.
That's the key, not just
Sounds
freedom.
like the old USSR. What are you talking about?
Pure freedom does not help you with innovation or any of those things, but freedom within clear guidelines. I think it's Ritz-Carlton. Does anyone, we'll get you to do an interaction. They give any member of their staff a figure of money that they can use to make the customer happy. Does anyone know how much it is?
No.
Shout out.
Ritz-Carlton money, this is free money for Ritz-Carlton employees?
Any staff member can use an amount of money to make a guest happy. Any ideas?
$1,000? Higher. 5,000? 10,000?
Yeah.
10,000?
Is that an individual guest?
Individual per guest, discretionary amount.
Does anyone in the audience let their employees have that kind of money? Or any money? Or even a packet of crisps?
But imagine how they feel when you give them that trust.
Yes.
Imagine how much more seriously they take it. And imagine how much more they care about your brand. And they're actually going to protect that money and only use it. If you back up what you're saying with that. But you have to do that, otherwise, yeah, then people won't take any chances.
And we're bandying that, actually remember that 10,000 figure for Ritz-Carlton. Is it successful? Is it working?
Massively successful.
Yeah.
And if people get it wrong, again, they're not punished. You just use it as a learning experience, and then you move on.
Mark, burning issues.
So I think one of the big burning issues, so all the stuff we're trying to do, it's all direct to consumer, so there's no middleman. We're trying to sell lots of homewares products like beds and couches to people via Facebook, YouTube, AdWords. One of the big things that really changed the way that we thought about friction was that you can't look at aggregated metrics. So I don't know if anyone uses Google Analytics or is looking at any funnels. We dump all this traffic, they land on the homepage or the landing page, how many go through to the product page, the checkout. We used to try and optimize the business based on that. And over the last few months, we did a deep dive to try and see how much do individual people interact with our ads and our website before making a purchase. So we had one person that had 56 interactions within 24 hours. Which starts to be pretty expensive. So they looked at a YouTube ad, they visited our website, they went to an affiliate, coming back and forward, back and forward, back and forward, but then they made a purchase. So if you've got these kind of people, we realized that they're these obsessive researchers. But then on the other side, we had someone that we sold a mattress to, a $1,000 mattress on Facebook. They saw the ad, they'd never been to the website before, they clicked it, and they bought it within 5 minutes. So then the challenge was, how do you actually understand friction when there are these two very different types of customers? So we started rebuilding the website to account for both of these people. So it means when you're sending somebody to a landing page, we have a CTA up the top, like a call to action, which means that if you're compulsive, it's 1 a.m. in the morning, you can't get sleep, and you want a new bed, we let these people do it. The second thing is having all of the really heavy information that gets denser and denser as you go down the page to give that kind of extra insight to the people that want to be thinking like that. So it works quite well. The other big issue we had with friction is that teams were siloed, and we talked about this quite a bit before, where we've got the front line, which is the customer service people that have all the answers because they've got angry customers sometimes or happy customers kind of yelling at them and telling them what to do. So one of the other big things that worked quite well with us was getting aligned KPIs, which is that we need to improve marketing performance as a team, which is one customer service person, one marketing person, and one person that can edit the website. So that just had transformative kind of impact because it wasn't, that's not my job, that's not my job. People are like, oh, holy shit, we should start having different conversations. Cool. So I think teamwork on that front and then understanding that there are very different types of friction.
So getting everyone out of their silos always sounds like a good idea, bunker busting, all of the rest of it. And thank you for that example about how it's going to work. You mentioned the two extremes of potential customers. There's the obsessive researchers who are up all night checking everything out. And over the other side, it was the guy who was willing to get onto your mattress without any so much as a by your leave. What do you call the mattress man? Does he have a name as well? Obsessive researchers and mattress man?
Well, there's actually a guy or a girl that's one level beyond that, which is the hyper buyer, but then the refund rate of those people could be upwards of like 40%.
So the hyper buyer?
The hyper buyer, well, we had a different name for the hyper buyer.
Is it rude?
No, it was called the dropkick cohort, which is these are the people where it doesn't matter how good your product is, how good customer service is. These are the people that are going to buy and they're going to complain and they're going to refund the product anyway.
We call it trolls.
What's that? Trolls.
Trolls.
Trolls?
Yeah, trolls dropkicks.
Don't feed the trolls.
Yeah, so we had a hack around that as well. Which was,
don't sell to the trolls.
Well,
what's your hack? Tell us.
It's really hard to not sell to these people because they fit all the criteria. So what we did was we kind of hacked the Facebook algorithm to do this. So what we did is we did a mass export of the dropkick cohort. So it's essentially anyone that refunded the product before it had even been delivered or was a real big complainer. And then we upload all those people to Facebook to create a special audience. And then we say, Facebook, don't find anybody that looks like that. And then, it reduced the refund rate. So it means you get the hyper buyers that don't refund the product.
Wow, that's quite scary. I might be in a few of those groups myself, actually, being a grumpy customer. Okay, so any hands in the air for the questions from the audience? We can talk for about 3 days around here, so no hurry if you haven't got a question. Hands in the air at any point, and you will be tracked. Oh, yes! We love the questionings. And this is how you get your job done for you. Ask them anything.
Just like more personal.
And if you put the mic right up here.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Hello there. This is based on something that Sarah said earlier about the...
Right up here.
about the employees and looking after them and then giving them more power in the business.
Yeah.
Do you think this is related to the way that children and people growing up nowadays are as well? So at the moment, I mean, I kind of fit in that like Generation Z, millennial sort of area, and I noticed in the workplace people my age expect more freedom anyway. So is this like a natural progression into giving people at the bottom of the hierarchy more freedom and more say because that's what they expect as well?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yep.
I think for me, I really truly believe that the future of work is about creating a great place to work, and I call it a happy workplace. You might call it something slightly different. And it is, we used to work with our hands, right? And at the moment we work kind of with our heads, but the future is that we will work with our hearts. It's about empathy, it's about emotional connection, it's about all of those things. And we need to be creating an environment where people feel that. And I think, millennials, or whoever you want to call them, whoever comes after them, they've got it right. They've got it figured out. They've seen what I've been doing and older generations have been doing, and that's not for them. They want to come to work, they want meaning and purpose. They want recognition for doing a good job, and they want to be able to make decisions, come to work and do great work together with great people. That's kind of what we all want, isn't it?
And you feel that trend is just going to get more and more, and
Yep.
quite right too, and it's your job as employers to sort that out so that they want to work for you.
Absolutely. And imagine how great it is if you knew that everyone in your organization was aligned, they knew what they were trying to achieve, and they didn't actually have to come up and ask questions. They could just get on with it. Because, again, and it's not pure freedom, that's the way to anarchy and failure. But if they had clear freedom within guidelines, they are able to move your business in the direction you want it to, and they'll remove the friction for you, right? And you won't even know it's there. Your customers won't even know it's there. You'll make those small nudge theory incremental changes. If you multiply 1 20-second loss of time and loss of customers by your number of customers and the number of purchases and just doing those tiny pieces, you will transform your organization.
So she's told you what to do. You agree with it? Any comeback on that one?
I can also add on this something.
Got more.
So, basically, we run a flat hierarchy at Hyperion, and there's also kind of, I liked your definition, flexibility within the guidelines.
Absolutely, that's so key.
Because, it's true. If you just tell people, just come to work, do whatever you want, it's all going to fall apart because people do need some kind of a frame. I think it's a lot about if there is a blame game played in your organizational culture or not. So usually people don't want to stand up and say what sucks about a business or about a workplace because they know they're going to get banged in the head anyway, and being told, you kind of make your manager look bad now, so gently go back to your seat and try not to mention this again, without saying it very bluntly, of course, all in European way. But all in all, people get bummed out because they just want to have responsibility of their own. It's less about, I'm the millennial, give me meaning. It's more, look, if you hired me and I'm intelligent, I want to get some form of responsibility. Yep. If you tell me everything I should do, what I should not do, you just give me some flat guidelines. This is how our company works. Just follow this. And if this doesn't work for you, please leave and find another job. It's kind of, who would want to wake up for such a place? So I agree. The leadership has to be hard on some things. Like, no, there's some lines you should not cross, and there's some discipline points and other things you should keep very tight. But on the other hand, you need to allow a lot of freedom of movement within that range. Because if not, why should I wake up and go to work? I mean, the industrial era is over. And tech jobs that try to imitate the industrial era is a big, big mistake because it's the information era. People want to use their brains. If they can't do that, they'll just go to somewhere else.
Yeah. So
can
I jump in for a second?
Yes.
So everything you've all said is really true. However, there are a lot of your employees who work in non-customer-facing areas, right? They support logistics, they support commercial, they support lots of things. Even engineers don't necessarily face your customers, right? They face a computer screen. And one of the things that really is a bug for me is you got to give these people the tools they need and the tools they expect. And so you can love them to death and you can give them as much freedom as they want, but if they're still actually using a spreadsheet and then they go home and they're using smart apps, you know, there's a problem here. And so I work, right, in a huge organization that's very old, it's very traditional, and I hear them constantly say, we don't really need it to improve our colleague tools, right? They can use spreadsheets. I'm sorry, they're 19 years old, and you think that they go home and use spreadsheets, right? They think data comes in a spreadsheet. So you have to think about them as well. If you're going to think about customer satisfaction, they're a customer for you. They're just an internally facing customer. When you make their lives full of friction, not only are they feeling unloved, they can't get their jobs done. Yeah. So if you want your workforce to be happy, they want to do their jobs, give them tools that allow them to do their jobs that are modern, that are simple to use, and that are forward-facing. They want to use conversational commerce and talk to their machines as much as your customers do. So as you think about all this, don't forget that if you really want to have a workforce that's working for you, you've got to give them the same consideration as you're giving your customers. And I'll get off that hobby horse.
Absolutely.
I like it.
Totally agree. And I think actually the whole happy customers, it's not just about lovey-lovey. The resources to do the tools is totally key. You can't, you can't be happy at work if you have to.
You can get your job done, right?
Exactly.
Cool. Any other hands in the air for questioners? Yes, there's one there.
Hello. Hi. So my question is more from technical and digital point of view, right? When you do have multiple marketing partners from Google to Facebook, how do you answer the question of single source tracking? Because essentially, from a marketing point of view, I want to optimize someone who clicked at the Facebook ad, but I don't want him to click on the Google ad and say that it's the same customer. So how do you differentiate that with the single source problem with multiple channels? And where does the frictionless customer experience play in this part when you are dealing with different channels and all together?
I have no idea. Luckily, however.
So just to confirm, are you saying how can you identify if someone comes from Facebook versus Google?
Yeah, so my point is, like, since as a marketer you are investing in different channels, so what I want to make sure, if someone has come from Google Ads seeing my ad, right, and they have converted, and I know it's the same person targeted on Facebook, and I don't want to invest in Facebook versus that the same person has already bought an ad. So does that come into this experience, or do you face how you can optimize the budget on considering your investment on different channels?
And the answer to this could save you quite a lot of money, couldn't it? I like that. Yes, sort him out, come on.
So the first thing I'd be thinking is why would you actually want to exclude them? Because what you find is that people use different channels for different reasons. So for example, just because someone came from Facebook, they may have been scrolling, you've got an engaging ad which talks about all the USPs of your product, that's fantastic. That's kind of like the courting process. Then next you may find that they come from Google where they've got a higher level of intent. So this person may have never thought about buying a bed. You gave them that ad on Facebook, and now when they're coming from AdWords, they're saying best bed reviews, and then your ad's coming up. So you actually don't want to remove that touch point. You want to have both of those touch points in there. That's where I'd start. But if you do want to remove it and you've found out a way, you can just create, I could maybe tell you after, but you just create negative pixels and negative audiences, and you can kind of interplay that way. But yeah, happy to chat after.
Yep. He might charge you, but I think he's going to sort you out there. OK, we've got time for one more question. Any burning issues in the audience? Or I'll hand it back to the panel for the things they wish they'd said about 20 minutes ago. Hands in the air for the burning questions. I think we're clear. So, quick fire round. What have you not said that you should really have said?
I think one of the big things is that behind all of the data, it's really easy to forget that it's real people. When you're looking at thousands and thousands of sessions, I think it's easy to just exclude people or ignore people. But one of the really powerful things is either connecting customer service or connecting qualitative insights and then feeding it back into the data team and the performance team.
Thank you. Yep.
I think the most powerful thing I heard recently was that less than 1% of customers are happy with their experience with businesses. So I think no matter what we're doing, and I used to think it was like 9%, but it's less than 1% these days. So no matter what we're doing, we just need to constantly be reevaluating that and changing it and fixing it, because we've got the data and then we've got what people think, and they're very different stories. So that would be my piece to leave you with, is just constantly think again.
Get better always.
Always. Yeah.
Kaizen. Yep.
I would say listen to negative feedback, probably the most important thing. Don't wait for a whole data set to emerge in order to determine that something is bad. The best advice of improving any product or business I've ever conducted in the last 11 years came from individual negative feedbacks that I immediately took into account. Actually, in some of my companies, we became so obsessed with that it's enough to have one feedback. And we just changed that, just for this person. And later we found out miraculously that by serially listening to negative feedbacks one by one and changing, the product becomes so much, like, it just becomes great. And people just say, wow, how did you think of that? Well, don't ask, you know? But don't take it personally. If you get negative feedback and somebody tells you, you know, your hotline kind of sucks, you don't answer the phone, fix that. Don't say, oh, no, you know, today it's a hard day, usually we answer fast. That's the wrong answer. Like, stop trying to deny negative feedbacks or to oppose them, rather immediately accept them and think where you can do better.
Yeah.
And the faster you can do that, the faster you're going to reach success. It's very simple.
Because they're the ones that bothered even telling you.
Exactly.
They're probably
Most of
representative
them won't.
of
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
100x.
Look at the concept of online reviews.
Yeah.
Most people that are happy will never leave a review
Yeah.
unless you really ask them to.
Yeah.
And most people that have a negative feedback, they will also not leave a review. They will just never come back.
Yeah.
So the ones that do actually do represent the ones that cared enough to tell you, you know, I kind of thought this was a good thing, but it turned out kind of bad, and I want to let you know. So the last thing you want to do is to push them back and say, you know, you don't know what you're talking about. We have a lot of satisfied clients.
We've got data that says you're wrong.
Look at our data, you know. So no.
So cherish your grumpy customers. I like it because I am a grumpy customer. So thank you.
Love them. They're your greatest
They're
teachers.
amazing.
I feel
Yeah,
good.
absolutely.
And finally,
So the name of this conference is FUTR without an E. So I would like to posit the fact that you should, when you're imagining and you're creating whatever it is you do, your experiences, your tech, your product, whatever, you should imagine about where your customers are going to be, not just where they are today. And if you do that, a lot of the friction that you see won't be there, because a lot of the friction's about the change in the way people use things. And as you think about what you're going to build and why you're going to build it, take the time to think about how people won't use it the way you thought they were going to. Think about the negative headline that you might see in the press and build in for that now, not when you actually get the negative headline in the press. And that could be a lot of one-star reviews.
Awesome.
cherish those one-star reviews. You deserve them because they will be how you improve, is the message we're getting there. Fantastic. They're still nodding. I love my panel. Thank you very much indeed for excellent questions. Thank you for attending. Ladies and gentlemen, huge round of applause for Mark, Sarah, Stav, and Melissa. Thank you very much indeed. I think they've earned lunch now.
I think we need a round of applause for our amazing moderator that did such a hard work.
Yes.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm looking forward to your negative feedback. I'll be in the lunchroom. Thank you. Let's go.